Well, hello, and welcome to Stop, Let's Team Up, episode 78. And today, I'm going to be talking to you about two pretty cool issues of Marvel Team-Up, issues 65 and 66. It is Spider-Man and Captain Britain. It is the first appearance of Captain Britain, I think, in a United States magazine. He's a character I love, and it's because of these issues. I remember when they came out and read them, and I went, who is this dude? And that is a kick-ass costume. And then then I saw some of the weeklies. We got them over at the comic shop that I went to as a kid, and I've always been in love with this character. I've not read Excalibur, confession. And I was having a conversation with a buddy that this Captain Britain and, like, say, the Hickman's Captain Britain when he was in Avengers, very different from the Excalibur Captain Britain. And I'm a big fan of Jay and Miles' podcast. And from their description, I think I will like that version, but I don't know if it's my version. So let's get started with Marvel Team-Up 65. Let's go to the Grand Comic Book Database and the Marvel Fandom Wiki for some important information. First, I want to say the cover. It is by George Perez, Joe Sinnott, and lettered by Annette Kawecki. I never realized that this was a Perez cover ever in my life. This comic book was published on, oh my goodness, the 25th of October, 1977. So, 3 days before my 13th birthday. And it was cover dated January 1978. But it's a great cover. It's got them fighting on a skyscraper because this is a two-part story. Part one is them meeting, fighting. Let's team up. The whole purpose, the whole kind of, not purpose, but where the title of this podcast comes from is from this trope, and I love it. It is written by Chris Claremont, penciled by John Byrne, inked by Dave Hunt. I love Dave Hunt on John Byrne. I will just say that now. Letterer Bruce Patterson, editor Archie Goodwin. The main characters are Spider-Man and Captain Britain, Brian Braddock. We get to see Jean DeWolf. I had forgotten all about Jean DeWolf, the police officer. Let's jump to the short but sweet synopsis here on the Grand Comic Book Database. Brian Braddock arrives in the U.S. as an exchange student and finds he has drawn Peter Parker as his roommate. Inevitably, Spidey and Captain Britain have the obligatory superhero fight and make nice just in time to be captured by the sinister Arcade. Yes, this is the first appearance of Arcade. I love it. He's a great villain. He is a Batman TV show type villain, and I mean that with a lot of love. I wanted to look at some the reprint. It is a long list of reprints, a German reprint. In Britain, Super Spider-Man UK 1976, number 248, pages 1 through 6, 249, pages 8 through 13, issue 250, pages 12 through 17. Oh, that's cool. They broke it up as weekly. An Italian version. In Britain, a Captain Britain Summer Special, Marvel UK 1980 and 1981. Some other ones, Marvel Tales 2001, it was reprinted in that. Marvel Team-Up by Claremont and Byrne. It's a trade. That's cool. The Essential Marvel Team-Up number 3. That's cool. And Captain Britain and Omnibus. I really, I want that omnibus, but I just can't afford it right now. But I really want it. So it's because it's got some other stuff that I'm going to talk about. Let's just talk about issue 65. I love it. It's, this is kind of when I was a kid reading comics and really being bonded on. And I'm a huge Byrne fan, and it's kind of these team-ups. I'm a huge Perez fan. I would say in my Marvel of this era, my favorite artists are probably Byrne and Perez. But this is a good Perez cover. He is built to draw this costume of Captain Britain, but it's pretty basic. They're fighting on a scalpel. It's pretty cool. I hope you are reading along. If you have the app, they're on there. If you have the issues or the omnibuses, reread these guys. They're worth it. So it starts with a great splash page of Spidey just swinging down the street, complaining, oh crap, I overslept and I got to meet the dean. I hope that I'm not losing my scholarship. It's a beautiful panel. I said earlier I like Dave Hunt as an inker on Byrne. He has a very solid, clean style. He rounds it out, is the way I like to say it. But it's real. I really like him on, especially when he's doing something like Spidey or Team-Up, because these are very bright, open, fun comics, and I think that's what it adds to it. It's a difference. I'm a bit, I talk about it all the time. I like inkers on burnt pencilers. I like that second pair of hands, and I also hate it sometimes, but most of the time I love it. But he's swinging through, and he goes, just by chance, he goes to the dean and says, oh, yeah, when you signed up for all this stuff, that you signed up to be a host of an exchange student, and he happened to draw Brian Braddock. Of course, the two superheroes. What are the odds in the Marvel Universe? And they go, hang out, and then we see these two MAGA. It's a Maggi. I can't remember how to pronounce it. It's like the Marvel version of the Mafia. Are hiring this guy called Arcade. And you just kind of see him in the shadows, but he's wearing a white suit, a straw boater hat, and a big red and yellow polka dot bow tie. And he's been hired to capture Braddock. And he sends his Miss Locke and Mr. Connor out to do it. Then Pete, he tries to sneak out and be Spider-Man, and Brian Braddock sees him swing away, so he turns himself into Captain Britain. And then the fight ensues. And the fight lasts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5.5 pages. People go, it's all Bronze Age comics are so talky. Yeah, but there's a 5-page fight scene. Okay, all the time. I love it. But I like Byrne's take, or not take. I like him drawing this costume. I love this Captain Britain costume. I really do. It is my favorite Captain Britain costume. And I loved it when they gave it to the character Lionheart in Jeff Johns' Avengers, which is an underrated Avenger run. And I think my next Marvel thing will be that, because I think it is an incredibly underrated run. But the fight scene's great. Back and forth, witty banner, little comedy of the people... citizens in New York fussing about the fight, but it's really dynamic. It really holds up. And then they have the meeting where stop, let's team up, and we get to see Brian Braddock's origin. And I'm going to post a couple samples of this before I post this episode, but we get a retelling over 4 pages of Brian Braddock's origin story from Captain Britain #1, a weekly comic book in England, which is on the app. All 39 or 49 issues are on the app. It is well worth reading. Drawn by Herb Trimpe, who I'm a big fan of, and I'll put up some comparisons when I post. But you get this origin, and I don't know if you're familiar. He was a scientist. So the research facility attacks him. A guy named Josiah Stagg, a.k.a. the Reaver, wants the nuclear research. And Brian's motorcycle he's riding goes off a cliff and explodes, and he crawls out and drags himself through the forest. And then he meets Merlin and Roma, the mistress of the northern sky. And it's where he is offered the choice of grabbing to fight Josiah Stagg, to choose a sword or an amulet. He chooses an amulet, and then he is given his costume, and then he has some adventures. He battles Red Skull and other people. I think one's called the Peregrine, but I've not read those in a long time. But we see him and Spider-Man. They go off. They're just kind of stop fighting, and they're walking on the street, avoiding the police. And all of a sudden, there's a trash truck, and this big arm shoots out. Instead of scooping up from the back, the upper part scoops down and sucks up Spider-Man and Captain Britain. And the man we saw on the plane, Arcade, is driving the truck. And it ends. Next issue, Murder World. This is a great comic. I mean, it's a lot of fun. It's entertaining. It's a lot of exposition, but it's an introduction to what I think is a great character. It was nice that Marvel was doing superhero comics specifically for the UK and created such a good character. And I mean, Alan Moore had a hand at it. A lot of had a hand at it. Claremont wrote it. He's in Excalibur. It's just so many. He is in so many good books. I liked him as an Avenger. And then there was that Captain Britain and M16 MI6 book that I really, really liked, where he had a really cool British superhero team with a great cast of characters. I absolutely loved it. I'm sorry it didn't go on forever and ever. But this is a great introduction, and it's one of those fun Bronze Age comics. But let's kind of move on quickly to 66. So 66 has an amazing John Byrne cover. It is a great cover. I will talk about that in a second. This comic book was released on November 27th, 1977. Cover dated February 1978. The team is Chris Claremont, writer, John Byrne, penciler, David Hunt, inker and colorist, Tom Orzechowski, letterer, Archie Goodwin, editor. Again, Spider-Man, Brian Braddock, battling Arcade, Mr. Mistlock, and Mr. Chambers. More Gene DeWolf. And this one's called Murder World. So it's the first time there's a Murder World. Bad guys fighting in Murder World, which has happened tons of times now. Tons of times. And let's get the quickie synopsis from the Grand Comic Book Database. Spidey and Captain Britain try to survive Murder World. Full stop. I love it. That's a great, that is what it is. I mean, it's nothing deeper than that. It's just a great action comic. Let's get to it. Again, the cover is great. It's really, really great. It's very Batman 1966. That's something I like about Arcade, because he is such that kind of villain. It starts out with a great splash page of Spider-Man and Captain Britain in these big glass balls, being held captive, and they're just coming to. And then it cuts away to this great double page spread. It's got 4 panels, and it shows Arcade in the control room. And then he lifts the cover on part of the control room, and you realize that there's the little thing you pull back on a pinball machine, and he does it, and it cuts away to what's rest of the page. Is you realize that Spidey and Captain Britain are trapped in a giant pinball machine called Murder World, and they're inside the balls, and they both shoot out. And they go through the bumpers and everything as Arcade's playing pinball with them, and they're getting battered around, and then Spidey's like, nothing's happened. He's crushing. He's trying to break the glass bulb. And he's thinking to himself, it'd be easy to give up, but I can't take much more of this bouncing around. No, I have too much to live for. Too many people counting on me. And he sees, yes, Mary Jane, image of Mary Jane floating before his eyes. And it means, I'm Spider-Man. That means, if that means anything, it means I never give up. And he smashes the globe, and then he stops it with stops Braddock's, Captain Britain's with a webbing, and then they get him out. And then Murder World, Arcade sends a new ball out, and it is a giant. It looks like it's solid steel, and all of a sudden it's got spikes all over it. And then it disappears because it was just an illusion. And there's 2 trap doors open up in the pinball machine, and they get separated. Braddock has to do a grab 'em, the little claw things, to save Courtney Ross, his friend. He goes through a hall of mirrors, and these distorted versions of him come out and fight him, and they're basically robots. While Spidey is being shot at by robot cowboys, little miniature planes, in this weird little game room, and he realizes that what he thinks is a big giant room is just holographically projected on the wall. So he rips open the wall, and he gets into the substructure, the superstructure, and starts fiddling with stuff. Captain Britain finally makes it to the place where there's the grab 'em arm, and he's trying to do it as the room floods. Spidey's breaking some stuff. Arcade's feeling good about himself. He finds Captain Britain, gets him out of the water, and they free Captain Britain's friend Courtney. And at that point, Arcade tries to send poison gas at him, but he doesn't realize that all the stuff that Spider-Man done in the background causes everything to overload and explosions. Spidey rips him a hole, and they go through, out through the sewers and back into the city, and are picked up by Jean DeWolf, who they tell her about Murder World, and this is what Captain DeWolf says. Interpol says that MAGA put out $1 million contract on Captain Britain here, among others, but some lone wolf got to their top hierarchy first, did a Punisher-type number on the commission, shot him to pieces, and it'll be months before the family recover. So basically, you know, Murder World's destroyed here, but it will come back because Arcade and his two lackeys have escaped. I love it. It's a great villain. Claremont and Byrne created an incredibly great villain. This is a fun comic. Again, there is a little bit of cheesy Bronze Age. I am Spider-Man. Nothing can defeat me. There is lots of action. There's a great new villain. The Silver Age Batman kind of motif going on is just absolutely spot on and beautiful and fun. I just love it. I'm a huge Captain Britain fan. I think a lot of it comes from that. I like that idea. I used to have the trades, but you know, as one does as a comic collector, stuff comes and goes out of your life. I will eventually get the omnibus, but it's all on the app. I do recommend you go and check out his Marvel book. I mean, his Marvel UK book. I'm a big Trimpe fan. Yes, he is an artist from another era, but I don't think that should really matter. It is what it is. But it's Captain Britain. I'm on issue 2, and it's just so good. It's just so good, and I'm going to read it all. I think I'm going to kind of read it all. It might be my lunch break reading. But it's really fun. And I'll post some of the comparisons with One and Marvel Team-Up 65. He's a great character. And I will probably I did a poll and gave 4 Avengers teams, New Warriors, Avengers, FF, and Excalibur. Who do I start a read through? And the winner was the Fantastic Four. So I will be reading the first 40 issues again soon. The subtitle for that little show that I will do once a month, probably starting in October, will be called 4 for 4, and I will, by myself or with a guest, discuss 4 issues of the Fantastic Four quickly. And we will start with 1 through 4, and we will go in reading order, including adding in some, through the wonderful internet, you can see where stories go chronologically, and I think I'm going to insert as many as I can, because that's the fun of Marvel in the 60s, 70s, and 80s to me. It's the continuity. I'm sorry. But that's coming up. The break for September has not started because my boss has been allowing or forcing me to take some days off to get my head straight. So this Sunday I'm off. One of my amazing coworkers took the 2 shifts that I had to cover, so I don't have to, and I get a day off. And I got Tuesday off, so I'm going to be recording. I'm going to keep recording. I can do 2 episodes. I'm going to record 2 episodes today, post this one, and set Starman and get Starman ready to be edited to post. And then on my day off Tuesday, I will record Legion and whatever I pick for next week's end story. And I may be able to record next weekend. I may or I may not. I'm hoping I can. So, until then, folks, hey, be safe, be smart, really be kind to one another, and read some comic. Read some Marvel UK stuff. It's on the app.